Lord Brunson back at you with the back at you, and I am the best reporting on the Eagles. Listen, man, I like Stefen Wisniewski coming back. And for a lot of people who don't understand this, I'm seeing a lot of comments on a community post that I made. Somebody said they're starting to get a little worried about the new faces in the locker room and chemistry and all this. Stefen Wisniewski was already an Eagle. Stefen Wisniewski played for us last year. You know, his contract just went up and he tested the free agency market and nobody picked him up and we were able to acquire him back. So he's not a new face by a long shot. So just I want to give you guys some of that. So the same situation happened with, same situation happened with Tim Jernigan. You know, Tim Jernigan was released and we were able to get him back. And I'm going to talk about Tim Jernigan in a minute, though. But Stefen Wisniewski, man, they continue to get interchangeable pieces at the offensive line position for Carson Wentz. Is a familiar face. He knows the importance of protecting the quarterback. He's familiar with the system. He's familiar with the scheme. He's going to be fully integrated in what we do as far as pass catching running backs and just having an athletic offensive line like we've been known for the last couple of years. Bold move. I mean, this, in my opinion, is a very underrated move. This is a championship move as well. I believe this is a Super Bowl move. This is a move that's saying we want to protect Carson Wentz. We're going to continue to show you that we're going to protect Carson Wentz, and we're just going to have depth, interchangeable pieces at the offensive line position. Also, let's talk about Tim Jernigan for a minute. Now, Tim Jernigan said something on the lines of, he seems a little disgruntled, and he kind of feels like, he wanted to take a year off, or he said something like that. Like he said he wanted to do something like some other player did that took a year off or something like that. And I mean, that's to each his own, man. I mean, what Tim Jernigan got to understand is, the reason why he was released in his contract wasn't honored is because he didn't perform. You see what I'm saying? He didn't perform, and which is why we went and got Malik Jackson. You came back and you accepted your 1-year prove-it deal, so that's good for you. You got to make yourself marketable now so you can go on to a new team after this season, or maybe we'll re-sign you. You know what I mean? You made yourself marketable enough to us last year, but for that amount of money that we paid you, that don't mean that you can just ride injury and not show up. I mean, it's a lot of people who's willing to take a position in the NFL. I mean, the only position that's really sacred now is really cornerback, left tackle. I mean, a good middle linebacker, a good cornerback. Those things are sacred. A nice running back. Those things aren't just given up so easy. But it's a lot of big boys coming out of college every year. I don't really want to talk about the Cody Kessler thing, man. We got Cody Kessler. That's a camp arm. I mean, it's no competition at all for the QB2 spot, in my opinion. I think that's going to go to Nate pretty easy. And I'm not even going to mention Carson Wentz in the same breath as any of these guys as far as competition is concerned. We're doing what we got to do. And when it's time to build the team, it got to be from the line. It got to be from the line perspective. And look at what we did just from the line alone. I know the line doesn't get everybody hot and bothered when you're talking about additions in the offseason to an already talented football team, but that's where it starts. We didn't really need a bunch of other stuff because we have wide receiver. We have a great wide receiver core, and we added to it within the draft. We already had a pretty decent running back core after we got Jordan Howard. We addressed those things, though. You know what I mean? After Jordan Howard, I thought we were already solid enough. But then you add Miles Sanders. We addressed certain things. We addressed linebacker, I believe. Cornerback didn't need any addressing. I mean, they just needed to get healthy. And I believe this offseason gives them the opportunity to do that. But back to what I was saying, when you build from the line out on both sides of the ball, you start to see results in the form of wins in the win-loss category. You start to see more wins than losses. Now, look, you draft Andre Dillard. You bring back Jason Peters, Hall of Famer. You bring back Wisniewski, and this is just offensive line. This is just offensive line alone. The thing about bringing back Wisniewski, did they not like what they seen out of Dillard immediately? Did he not wow them immediately for a first-round pick? Who knows? But, we got depth at the offensive line. I think we got better at offensive line by bringing our guys back and also keeping our veterans in line as well. Brandon Brooks will be back healthy. You know what I mean? Now let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. We already know the animals that we already had, but there was a fear of losing Brandon Graham. So what did we do? We went and made sure that didn't happen. We re-signed Brandon Graham. But then you also bring in Malik Jackson side by side with Fletcher Cox. We thought we were going to lose Tim Jernigan. No, we bring him back. You see, when you can keep bringing these guys back, you also show that you have a locker room that these people want to play for. Derek Barnett will be coming back off injury. I mean, we're great on both lines, on both sides of the ball, and I think it's going to pay dividends just moving down the stretch on what everybody has going on. I think it's going to show improve so much on both sides of the ball with the running game, the passing game, and everything else that's just going on, period. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to show tremendous progress in protecting Carson Wentz this season. That also has to come with, that has to come with Carson Wentz doing his part to stay healthy as well. But, let's see where this goes. Eagles. So this is just an example of what I mean by situational football. So you see, this is like based upon our roster and the draft picks and everything we've been doing this offseason, this is how I see every formation looking for us from the second, from the goal line into the red zone, or from the red zone into the goal line. This is how I see every formation looking for us based upon the personnel. I think if you do anything more complicated than this, when you're in striking distance, like 20-yard line or less, to get a touchdown red zone area, then I think you're overcomplicating the system. Simply because we now have the power back right here in Jordan Howard. Got your power back. You got your two big wide receivers. You got Arcega-Whiteside, who I'll put over on this side. I'll go over this side with Alshon, obviously. And then you got your two tight ends. I mean, I just don't see nobody stopping that right there. I think you overcomplicate it if you try to throw a Deshaun Jackson right here, with or Nelson Aguilar right there. I think you got to keep it simple. You want to go and score, you put your big guys in when you don't need a lot of yardage. And then you also, like I said, there's so many things you can do. Arcega-Whiteside, he can run a fade route. Alshon can run a fade route. These two big body wide receivers that we have are excellent at high pointing the ball. So use them. We should be working on a fade route right now. I feel like it's money with Alshon Jeffrey and Arcega-Whiteside. These guys can run in their fade route. You got your tight ends who can do a plethora of things, across, fades, right up the seam. It's just so much that your tight ends can do. And they're big body and they got great hands. Now, Jordan Howard is always an option to go up there and get it in with this athletic line. And with the addition of Wisniewski, who's most likely going to be right here at your guard position, but he still can play a little center. With the addition of Wisniewski coming back, I mean, it shows what we're trying to be. We're trying to impose our will, and our will is getting imposed this season. I see no way why it shouldn't be. I think you complicate the system if you... Now listen, imagine if Deshaun is out here on the outside. What does that look like to you? Who is he scaring? Who is he scaring in the red zone on the outside? Who's Nelson Aguilar scaring in the red zone on the outside? If I'm a defensive coordinator and I see the Philadelphia Eagles in the red zone, or I see them very close to scoring, and I see a Deshaun Jackson or I see a Nelson Aguilar out there, bubble screen. I'm thinking it's a screenplay. You can still run your screenplay with this. You can still run your screenplay with this formation right here. You can still run the ball with this formation right here because your two tight ends are going to act as additional blockers based upon what you already have on the offensive line. You're in prime position. And not to mention, your quarterback is big. QB sneak if you want to one. Let's not overcomplicate it. In situations like this, even if we don't need, even if we're not in striking distance and we need a yard, we're at 4th and 1. I would expect to see this package if I don't see a goal line stand. You know what I mean? We got to get better at situational football. And I think that we dropped the ball as Philadelphia Eagles last year when it came to situational football and being able to, have the right personnel out there on the field. Tell me who's stopping this. Who's stopping Alshon? Who's stopping Goddard? Who's stopping Ertz? And who's stopping J.J. Arcega-Whiteside? Who's stopping that right there in the red zone? Nobody. And if you think too much about stopping it, then you got Jordan Howard that's going to come get his. I just don't see how you can stop it. Me personally, I just don't see how you can stop it. It's dangerous. It's dangerous, and I look forward to seeing it in situations where we should see it.